got to look good in a swimsuit. How many of us have had this thought? And how many of us have even used this as motivation to lose weight? Maybe even a New Year's resolution. Happy International Women's Day, my fellow Igniting Community sisters. I honor, I recognize, and I celebrate you. March 8th is a very special day where we celebrate, we recognize, and we bring awareness finally to the desire and rise of equality for women. In honor of International Women's Day and this year's theme, #BreaktheBias, I specifically chose today's episode of Carbs and Mirrors to address the desire to break the bias on body image. In particular, today I'm going to talk about body objectification. With spring around the corner, and it only means that summer will be upon us really, really quickly, which means we'll be donning our swimwear at the cottage by the lake, or by the pool, or even by the beach. In the book by Dr. Lindsay Kite and Dr. Lexie Kite called More Than a Body, Your Body is an Instrument, Not an Ornament, I want to read directly to you from it because I don't want to get it wrong. Both Dr. Lindsay and Dr. Lexie in that did such an amazing job explaining body objectification. And so, in their introduction on page 2 and 3, I'm going to quote to you. Self-objectification occurs when people learn to view their own bodies from an outside perspective, which is a natural result of living in an environment where bodies are objectified. We grow up seeing idealized and sexualized female bodies presented in media as parts for others' viewing pleasure, even in the most mundane or unexpected circumstances. In 1975, film theorist Laura Mulvey coined the term the male gaze to describe the phenomenon of women being represented in media through the perspective of a heterosexual man, in which they are sexualized and depicted as passive objects of male attention or desire. This is objectification. We then learn to monitor and understand our own bodies from that same outside perspective. Now, this is self-objectification. When we are self-objectifying, our identities are split into two, right? The one living for her life, and the other is watching and judging her. We become our very own self-conscious identical twin, an onlooker to ourselves, monitoring how we look rather than how we are feeling or what we are doing. We live and we imagine how we look as we live, adjusting and contorting ourselves accordingly. We watch from afar as our bodies become our primary means of identity and value. Our feelings about and perceptions of our bodies, our body image, become warped into our feelings about how we appear to ourselves and others. We learn that the most important thing about women is their bodies, and the most important thing about women's bodies is how they look. They also go on to further say on page 104, and I quote, "Self-objectification is the invisible prison of picturing yourself being looked at instead of just fully living. It is the soul-sucking act of policing and monitoring yourself against your worst fears of what someone else might be thinking when they look at you." So I'm not sure how you are feeling after hearing those words. But for me, when I first read those few paragraphs, I was blown away and frustrated to realize that I have been played, I've been imprisoned, and manipulated all of these years by media and society. I was living with a warped perspective, which I actually had no idea I even had until reading those words. But they're so true. And to realize that I have been giving away my power of my own worth, so my self-worth, especially through my body image, to others. Caring far too much what others thought, and also limiting myself of what I think I can and cannot do because of my body size. So it made me start to think, right? Like, how many men do we hear saying that they are worried about wearing a swimsuit? And how many men do we know that actually don't participate in activities because they're afraid of what their bodies look like? Or when you're at a pool gathering, who is usually in the pool? The guys are, right? They're in there enjoying themselves, they're playing, they're goofing around, they're having a blast, which they should be, while the women are usually standing on the edges. And if there is one brave female soul that goes in the water, she usually has a t-shirt on over her swimsuit. Have you been to a gathering like the one I just described? But have you also been like me, where you're thinking, I'd actually like to join in, but I'm too afraid of what they, so meaning both the men and women, will say about me in my swimsuit? So instead of joining, I make an excuse like I just washed my hair and I can't get it wet again. Or I don't even bring my swimsuit so I can avoid the ask entirely, right? As a result of my health journey, last summer I actually built up enough courage and confidence to purchase a brand new bikini. For 12 years, I avoided and felt like I didn't have permission to wear a two-piece because my body didn't look like those the world deemed suitable for one. I mean, I still have rolls and cellulite and veins and stretch marks and bulges and squishy parts. But when I decided to let go of the worry of what others thought, I actually got to enjoy being in a swimming pool again. I realized that I had deprived myself of 12 years of enjoying something that I really like to do, which is swimming, and also wearing something fun and cute. Why shouldn't I be allowed to do those things? So it was the first time in a very long time that I didn't allow myself to self-objectify and just live in the moment and be fully me. I even got brave enough to share the whole experience on Instagram. You can scroll through my feed and that and check out the post. It was a very powerful, very scary, but very liberating moment. And so when we can start seeing ourselves as more than just a body for the male gaze, or even our own self-judgment or critiquing, we can start to fully live our lives as we were intended to, right? To do the things we want to and to truly feel the way we want to. So I'd like to leave you with a few questions today to just reflect upon to be challenged by, and ultimately keep the conversation going, because that is the only way we can raise more awareness and really break the bias. So, what are some ways we can start to break the bias on how we perceive our bodies as women? And what does it take in that for us to be more like the guys that care less about how they look and just really jump in the pool and have a great time? How do we take back the power from others that we've actually given to, and even ourselves, in that, to stop objectifying our body and to stop allowing it to be the source of our identity, our values, and our worth? And lastly, how do we help the next generation of young females to see themselves for who they are and not allow objectification to become an issue for them? So, and I invite us to let's stand together and hashtag break the bias together and raise each other up so that we are more unified than divided. So will you join me? Until next time, remember, I am cheering you on because I believe in you. And if you enjoyed today's content, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like and comment and share this episode with a friend who might need to hear today's talk. To connect with me and keep the conversation going, or to find out more about my upcoming workshops or retreats and that, you can find me on Instagram at ms, so ms.alicia.ha. Or feel free to email me at carbsandmirrors, all one word, at gmail.com. And if you missed any of those details, you can find them all linked down below in the description. Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to hang out with you on another episode of Carbs and Mirrors.